So welcome students. Today we are going to start with our new topic, the blood, and it is coming under the fluids, body fluids and its components. So let us see what we are going to learn in this chapter and in this topic. So today we will start with the blood, and we will have uh, the studying composition of blood. Then its composition has the plasma, then cellular contents of the blood. Then we will see the leukocytes, then erythrocytes, then how they get developed, then granulocytes, then thrombocytes, and at last we will see the hemostasis. So let us start with this. What is mean by blood? So blood is a connective tissue. We also saw in our previous lectures, introductory lectures, the tissues, and in that I have told you that blood is only the liquid connective tissue and which connects all the body organs. So it is named as a connective tissue. So blood is a connective tissue. It provides one of the means of communication between the cells of different parts of the body and the external environment. Example, its carriers. So you can see here the blood is acting as a means of communication between the different body parts and external environment. So when we're talking about our connective tissue, so it acting as a means of communication between the external environment which is coming from outside our body. Sometimes when we are taking the inhalation of air, the oxygen is carried by the blood to the different body cells, and this is the communication between the external environment and the internal body organs. Okay, so here the examples have been provided. We have discussed the oxygen from lungs to the tissues and carbon dioxide from tissues to the lungs. Then the next example of communication is the nutrients from the alimentary tract, that is the digestive tract, to the tissues, and the waste material which is formed by our cells to the excretory organs. Then the third, hormones secreted by the endocrine glands to their target glands and tissues. Then heat produced in active tissue to the less active tissues. Okay. Then the various protective substances, examples antibodies to the areas of infection, means when we are injecting the injections which are having the antibodies which giving the immunity or a very sometime a defensive um, mechanism from external source, so that antibodies are transported to the specific area of infection. Then the blood also transports the clotting factors that helps for coagulation and minimizing its loss from ruptured blood vessels. So whenever you get an injury, the blood loss occur, and that blood loss can be stopped by the coagulation of blood, and that is occur due to the presence of these coagulating factors, and these clotting factors are transported with the help of blood. So the blood has a very important function in our body. Next, let us see the blood composition. So blood makes uh, up to 7% of body weight, and it is about 5.6 liters in 70 kg man. Means in the percentage of body weight, it is about 7%, and in the volume, it is about 5.5 6 liters in an adult of 70 kg. So the proportion is less in women and considerably greater in children, gradually decreasing until the adult level is reached. The blood in the blood vessels is always in motion. The continual flow maintains a fairly constant environment of the body cells. Means blood is continuously circulating in our body through the blood vessels, and it is having its constant environment maintaining throughout the body cells. Then blood volume and the concentration of its many constituents are kept within the narrow limit by homeostatic mechanism. So the homeostasis, which is the mechanism by which our body maintains all the balance between all the systems of our body, and this homeostasis keeps the various concentrations and blood volume in a place. Means whenever there is a change in the blood volume and its concentration of constituents, it will be balanced again, rebalanced to its normal level by the mechanism of homeostasis. So here you can see in this diagram, here in the A test tube you can see the plasma which is of 55% and the cells which are 45%. So blood has a two components, the plasma component and the cells component. So cells are suspended in the plasma. So it is a liquid fluid which is consist of the 55% of plasma and cell of 45%, which is sedimented down here. And here in this B test tube you can see after clotting of blood cells, the clot is formed and the remaining is the serum. So this serum is utilized for the various biochemical estimations of the blood. So this proportions gives the whole blood 55% of plasma and 45% of cells. So let us see how the plasma is consist. So plasma is consist of 90 to 92% of water and other dissolved substances. So which are the dissolved substances in the plasma? The plasma proteins like albumins, then globulins, which includes antibodies, fibrinogen, clotting factors, all these are having the plasma proteins. Then inorganic salts, the mineral salts like sodium chloride, sodium bicarbonate, potassium, magnesium, then phosphate, iron, calcium, copper, iodine, and cobalt. All these are inorganic salts are present in this plasma. Then other dissolved substances are nutrients, the which are principally which are absorbed from the digested food, like monosaccharides, amino acids, fatty acids, glycerols, and vitamins. Then organic waste materials, example urea, uric acid, creatinine. Then hormones, then enzymes, example of enzymes are certain clotting factors, and gases, example are oxygen, carbon dioxide, nitrogen. So let us see the dissolved substances, which first is the plasma proteins. Plasma protein which make up about 7% of plasma and normally retained within the blood because they are too big to escape through the capillary pores in the tissue. Means the plasma proteins gives the osmotic pressure to our blood. So plasma protein, which because of its larger size and which consists of 7% of plasma, which are normally present in the blood and keep in the blood by the purpose because they are large in size and unable to escape through the capillary pores into the tissues. So they are responsible for creating the osmotic pressure of the blood, normally 25 mmHg, which is keeps the plasma fluid within the circulation. And this plasma osmotic pressure is very important for the blood filtration through the kidney, because due to the plasma protein, the pressure which is responsible for filtration is generated in the kidney glomerulus. So this is very important part of our plasma proteins. So which keeps the plasma fluid within the circulation. So if the plasma protein level falls because of either reduced production or loss from the blood vessels, the osmotic pressure is also reduced. The fluid moves into the tissues, and sometimes it causes the edema. And so what is the condition here? Whenever there is a decrease in the plasma proteins in the blood, so the osmotic pressure also decreases, and due to the decrease in the osmotic pressure in the one cavity of the blood flows into the tissues cavities, and the fluid remains in the tissue cavities and gets swell, and this causes the condition called as the edema. You might have observed this kind of edema whenever there is a swelling occurs. You get the swelling, inflammation, there is a pus formation takes place, and this is one of example due to the accumulation of fluid into the tissues. Hmm. The next dissolved substance is the albumins, which is the plasma protein. These are formed in the liver. These are formed in the liver. They are the most abundant plasma proteins, and their main function is to maintain a normal plasma osmotic pressure. So, albumins uh, are formed or produced in the liver, and they are most abundant plasma proteins in our blood. And their main function is what? They maintain the normal plasma osmotic pressure. Albumins also act as a carrier molecules for lipids and steroid hormones. So you note here, the albumin is acting as a carrier molecules for lipids and steroid hormones. Then next is the globulins. These most form in the liver and remainder in the lymphoid tissue. So globulins and albumins are the plasma protein, and albumins are also formed in the liver, while the globulins are formed in the liver, and the remaining are formed in the lymphoid tissue. What are their functions? Let us see the functions of this globulin. So globulins act as an antibodies that are nothing but the immunoglobulins. So immunoglobulins are a major part, a major constituent of our immunity. So immunity is given by the immunoglobulins, that is the antibodies, which are complex proteins produced by lymphocytes that play an important part in immunity. They bind to and neutralize foreign materials, that is antigens such as microorganisms. So the microorganisms which are coming or invading our body from the external environment, they get neutralized and they get uh, killed by these antibodies by the mechanism. Then then transportation of next function of globulin is the transportation of some hormones and mineral salts. Example is the thyroglobulin carries the hormone thyroxine, and transferrin carries the mineral iron. So the transportation of hormones and mineral salts is also carried by the globulins. Example is thyroglobulin carries the hormone thyroxine, and transferrin carries the mineral iron. So this thyroglobulin is responsible for the production of thyroxine in the thyroid gland. Then next function of globulin is the inhibition of some proteolytic enzymes. Example is alpha 2 microglobulin, that is having the inhibition of trypsin activity in the digestive tract. The next factors which are present in our plasma are the clotting factors. Next constituent of plasma is the clotting factors. These are the substances which are essential for coagulation of blood. Just we have discussed the clotting factor are responsible for the coagulation of blood and forming the clot of the blood whenever there is a blood loss or bleeding occurs. So the serum is a plasma from which clotting factors have been removed. So earlier we also saw that figure here. In this figure, we have saw that whenever there is a clotting factors are separated, the remaining part of our plasma is the serum. So this is the serum. You can see serum is equal to plasma minus clotting factors. So that will give you the serum. Then next is the fibrinogen, and this is synthesized in the liver and essential for the blood coagulation. The clotting factors are responsible for the plasma viscosity due to its plasma proteins, mainly albumin and fibrinogen. The viscosity is used as a measure of the body's response to some disease. So the blood viscosity is due to these plasma proteins and this fibrinogen, and this is one of the major cause of uh, disease. If there is a decrease in the viscosity of blood, or increase in the viscosity of blood may be correlated to the disease of the patient. The next constituent of our plasma is the inorganic salts, that are the mineral salts. So these inorganic salts are involved in a wide variety of activities, including cell formation, contraction of muscles, then transmission of nerve impulses, and formation of secretions and maintenance of balance between acids and alkalis. So these inorganic acids are very much important for the cell formation in contraction of muscles, then transmission of nerve impulses, then formation and secretion of and maintenance of balance between the acids and alkalis. So all these are functions performed by these inorganic salts which are present in the blood. So the blood pH is maintained by these mineral salts. Whenever there is a actual blood is our slightly alkaline, that is the pH about 7.3.5 to 7.4.5. So the blood pH is ranging between the 7.35 to 7.45. This is the blood pH. The normal blood has this range of this pH. So that is the slightly alkaline pH of about 7.35 to 7.45. And the blood pH is maintained by the buffering systems. So mineral salts are acting as a buffers of our blood. The next constituent of our blood are the plasma are the nutrients which are absorbed from our digested food. So the nutrients which are absorbed from food when it get digested in the alimentary tract, they get absorbed. Examples are monosaccharides, amino acids, fatty acids, glycerols, vitamin. Together with the mineral salts, they are required by all body cells to provide energy, heat, then materials for repair and replacement, and for the synthesis of other blood components or and body secretions. Organic waste products. So urea and creatinine and uric acid are the waste products of the protein metabolism. They are formed in the liver and conveyed in blood to the kidneys for excretion. So the organic waste materials are collected from the various tissues and cells of the body by the blood and transported to the major excretory organ kidney for excretion, while the carbon dioxide which is released by the cells which is converted to the lungs for the excretion. So this is the different constituents. Then others are the minor quantities of hormones are present in our plasma. These are chemical compounds synthesized by endocrine gland. So our endocrine glands uh, synthesizes various hormones and which are released directly into the blood. So these uh, hormones pass directly to the cells from the cells of the gland into the blood, which are transport them to the target tissues and organs elsewhere in the body where they influence the cellular activity. Means the blood, for example, consider the thyroxine hormone, which is secreted by the thyroid gland, and these thyroid hormones are transported through the blood to the various tissues like bones, brain. All these are very important organs, and there the thyroxine exert its effect on the metabolism, get the increase in the body metabolism and increase in the body height and other development of the brain takes place. So this is the portion which is a very less portion of our plasma. Then gases like oxygen, carbon dioxide and nitrogen are transported around the body in a solution in plasma. So plasma carries these different gases in our blood. Then oxygen and carbon dioxide are transported in combination with the hemoglobin in red blood cells. So the blood gives the means for the transport of these gases. How this oxygen and carbon dioxide get transported? The oxygen get attached with the heme portion and hemoglobin, while the carbon dioxide is also attached with the hemoglobin. So with the help of this hemoglobin which are present on the red blood cells, so these carries this oxygen and carbon dioxide throughout the blood. Next are the cellular content of the blood. We also saw the blood is consist or composed of two components. The one component is the plasma, and plasma consists of 65%, sorry, 55% of the blood and 45% of the cellular content of the blood. The the total plasma, out of that plasma, the water is about 90 to 90%, 92%, while the remaining are the plasma proteins, which is about 7%, and the remaining are the other factors, clotting factors, then gases, then inorganic salt, then nutrients, organic waste products. Okay, this is the composition of plasma. While the next is the cellular content of the blood. So let us see the cellular content of the blood. There are three types of blood cells which forms the cellular content of the blood. The first is the erythrocytes or red blood cells. The next is the thrombocytes. These are called as the platelets. And the third one is the leukocytes called as the white blood cells. So these are the three different cellular contents of the blood. So all the blood cells originate from the pluripotent cells, stem cells, and go through the several developmental stage before entering the blood. So the cellular content, which is 45% of the total blood, and which is consist of the three different types of cells. Here you can see the erythrocytes that are red blood cells, then thrombocytes, these are the platelets, and leukocytes, these are the white blood cells. So here you can see, so these are the composition of the cellular content and how these get synthesized. In this diagram you can see the pluripotent stem cell, the originating of all these three cells is a pluripotent stem cell. So the erythrocytes are from this, from the pluripotent stem cell by this way. Then thrombocytes, that is the platelets, are formed by this way, and the remaining white blood cells, there are the 5 different types of leukocytes which are formed by these three different ways. So let us see how these are formed. So all blood cells are originating from pluripotent stem cells and go through several developmental stages. So different types of blood cells followed separate lines of development, as we all saw in the diagram. The erythrocyte has different uh, way. Then platelet has a different way, while the WBCs have five different ways of formation of WBC. So this process of blood cell formation is called as hemopoiesis. So here in this diagram, it is shown, the hemopoiesis has been shown here. And these are the structures of the blood cells. So RBCs are shown here. Then these are the platelets. These are the different types of blood cells, white blood cells. So these are basophils, these are eosinophils, and these are neutrophils. These are coming under the granulocyte because they have a granules present in their cytoplasm. While monocytes and lymphocytes, which are again divided into T lymphocyte and B lymphocyte, are agranulocyte. They do not have the granules in their cell cytoplasm. So they are agranulocytes. So this is called as the hemopoiesis. The process called as the hemopoiesis, and it takes place within the red bone marrow of the bone. So we also the in the skeleton the red bone marrow is present, and this red bone marrow is a site for the hemopoiesis where the all blood cells get synthesized. So for the first few years of life, the red bone marrow occupies the entire bone capacity, and over the next 20 years is gradually replaced by fatty yellow marrow that has no erythropoietic function. So in the starting of the life, the red bone marrow has occupies the all bones, and over 20 years later, gradually it is getting decreasing by the or replaced by the yellow bone marrow, which do not produces the blood cells. So in the adult, erythropoiesis is only occurs in flat bones, irregular bones, and ends of, of the long bones. These are the main sites: the sternum, ribs, pelvis, and skull. All these are the bones where the erythropoiesis or hemopoiesis takes place. Okay. So all this takes in the flat bone. Flat bones are like sternum, then irregular bones like our vertebrae, then long bones, ends of our long bones like humerus, then our femur, radius ulna, tibia fibula, then the pelvis, pearl, all these bones acting as a site for the hemopoiesis and erythropoiesis in the adult. So So this takes place in our flat bones. Okay, the hemopoiesis takes place in our flat bone. So let us stop here today, and in this we have covered the composition of blood and the process of hemopoiesis. So hemopoiesis takes place as shown in this diagram. The hemopoiesis. It is started. It is the origination takes place from the pluripotent stem cell. The erythrocyte is formed by this way: the proerythroblast, then erythroblast, then reticulocyte, and erythrocyte. So this is the way by through which the pluripotent stem cell get forms to the erythrocyte. So first it is forming the proerythroblast, then erythroblast, then reticulocyte and erythrocyte. Then the thrombocyte, that is the platelet, is having the different stages of development. Like it is pluripotent stem cell get converted to megakaryoblast, then megakaryocyte, then thrombocyte. Then the pluripotent stem cell again have the different formation of the white blood cells with the different developmental stages here. The myeloblast, then monoblast and lymphoblast use the different cells. Like the myeloblast gives the basophil myelocyte which turn into the basophil. Then the eosinomyelocyte turns into eosinophil, while the neutrophil myelocyte turns into neutrophils. Then monoblast turns into monocyte, and lymphoblast turns into lymphocyte. And these are again have the different types, the T lymphocyte and B lymphocytes. So all these are again grouped together according to their characteristics, granulocytes and agranulocytes, due to the presence of their granules in the cytoplasm in these three, and no granules present in this monocytes and lymphocytes. So they are agranulocytes. So let us stop here today.